Hello and welcome to Indus News live from Islamabad. I'm Hira Mustafa and these are the headlines. Turkey says it is concerned over the Czech Republic's decision to open a diplomatic office in occupied Jerusalem. In a statement, the Foreign Ministry said the office serves to erode Jerusalem's legal status. This comes a day after Palestine and the Arab League condemned the move and called it a violation of international law. In Myanmar, security forces have killed 5 more protesters during anti-coup demonstrations across the country. Protesters held handmade shields and wore helmets as they confronted police in the commercial capital Yangon. So far, over 80 people have been killed in the military crackdown on protesters. Indian troops have killed another youth in occupied Jammu and Kashmir. The civilian was killed in a cordon and search operation in the Rawalpura area of Shopia district. India has reported more than 25,000 cases overnight in the country's biggest daily jump since December 16. Meanwhile, in Pakistan, the virus has claimed 32 more lives and infected nearly 2,600 people overnight. The country has recorded more than 13,500 fatalities since the pandemic began. Globally, there are over 119 million cases and more than 2.6 million deaths. In cricket, Afghanistan beat Zimbabwe by 6 wickets in the second test match in Abu Dhabi to level the series 1-1. They managed to chase down the target of 108 runs on the final day thanks to Rahmat Shah's 50. Hashmatullah Shahidi was declared man of the match while Sean Williams bagged man of the series award. Well, these were the headlines. News in detail coming after the short break. Stay with us. Welcome back. Now the news in detail. Turkey says it is concerned over Czech Republic's decision to open a diplomatic office in occupied Jerusalem. In a statement, the Foreign Ministry said the office serves to erode Jerusalem's legal status. Ankara has urged the international community to respect the historical and legal status of Jerusalem. It has also called for adhering to international values for a fair and lasting solution to the Palestine-Israel conflict. This comes a day after Palestine and the Arab League condemned Prague's move and called it a violation of international law. Israel annexed the eastern part of the city in a move not recognized internationally, but Palestinians seek East Jerusalem as the capital of a future independent state. Hundreds rallied across Israel in the 38th week of widespread demonstration against Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. They slammed his indictment on graft charges, bribery, and handling of the coronavirus pandemic. The main demonstrations were held outside the Prime Minister's residence in Jerusalem and private home in Caesarea. The activists planned larger demonstrations next week with just 10 days left until the general elections. The protesters said it was imperative to bring the spirit of the protest to the ballot box. One of the signs read that criminal rule must be changed throughout the vote. The nation is preparing to hold new elections on March 23rd, which will be its 4th poll in 2 years. In Myanmar, security forces have killed 5 more protesters during anti-coup demonstrations across the country. So far, over 80 people have been killed in the military crackdown on protesters. Protesters held handmade shields and wore helmets as they confronted police in the commercial capital Yangon. Plumes of black smoke rose over the area and 2 factories in Halang Thayar district were set on fire. This comes hours after the parallel civilian government vowed to pursue a revolution to overturn the coup. Acting leader Man Win King Than said that government will seek to give people the legal right to defend themselves. Indian troops have killed another Kashmir youth in occupied Jammu and Kashmir. The civilian was killed in a cordon and search operation in the Rawalpura area of the Shopian district. Authorities have also suspended internet service in the district. The operation was going on till the last reports came in. Pakistan's special representative for Afghanistan is in Iran to hold talks on regional issues. Pakistan's embassy in Tehran says wide-ranging talks, including on Afghanistan, are on agenda. Tehran says Envoy Mohammad Sadiq will meet Foreign Minister Javad Zarif today. Earlier, Iran's Consul General in Quetta, Hassan Dareshwan, called for the opening of more crossings at the Pakistan-Iran border. In a meeting with customs official, he said Iran is regularly issuing visas to traders to enhance bilateral trade. In Nigeria, terrorists have ambushed a military convoy, killing 15 soldiers and 4 militia fighters in the northeastern state of Borno. A military spokesman said another 3 government fighters were also injured in the attack. ISIS-linked terrorists have claimed responsibility for the attack. Meanwhile, search is underway for dozens of students kidnapped in northwestern Kaduna state. Authorities say the military rescued 180 people on Friday, but 39 students remained unaccounted for. The abduction is the latest in a string of similar kidnapping cases within the last few weeks. The Central African Republic is voting in the second round of parliamentary elections amid tight security. This comes after rebel violence marred the polls in December. The voting consists of run-off ballots in 49 electoral districts. It also includes first-round voting in 69 districts where violence stopped the vote from taking place in December. The National Elections Authority says the voting started smoothly with slight delays across the capital, Bangui. The government and UN peacekeepers have also expressed confidence that elections will be peaceful. In London, police have detained 4 people during a vigil held in the memory of women murdered last week. Thousands gathered to mark the death of Sarah Everard hours after the police officer charged with the murder appeared in court. Mourners in South London defied coronavirus-related restrictions to pay tribute to the slain. The police initially kept a low-profile presence, but then began asking people to disperse. Later, tussles broke out between police officers and some protesters, leading to the arrest. The police said it acted to protect people as the crowd posed the risk of COVID-19 transmission.
Officers on the ground were faced with a very difficult decision. Hundreds of people were tightly packed together, posing a very real risk of easily transmitting COVID-19. Police must act for people's safety. This is the only responsible thing to do. The pandemic is not over, and gatherings of hundreds of people from right across London and beyond are still not safe.
The killing of the 33-year-old has caused nationwide outrage about women's safety, particularly when walking alone. And now moving on, in the U.S. state of Kentucky, hundreds of demonstrators gathered in Louisville to mark the 1-year anniversary of the killing of Breonna Taylor. The 26-year-old black medic's killing last year helped fuel U.S. protests against police brutality. Taylor was shot 6 times and killed by police in her Louisville home during a botched raid. The 3 white officers involved in the killing were fired by the police department. However, a grand jury in September recommended no homicide charges against them in the case. The demonstration in Louisville called for justice for Taylor and reforms to the criminal justice system.
Yeah, it's important to be out here today because it's been a year and we still have not got justice for Breonna Taylor. No one has been charged, no one has been prosecuted or convicted for her murder. And it's important for people to remember that, and that we have to continue to fight, and we can't stop. We have to keep going, and we cannot rest.
The city of Louisville paid $12 million to Taylor's family and agreed to police reforms to settle a wrongful death lawsuit. And now moving on, Brazil has reported nearly 2,000 COVID-19 deaths and 76,000 cases in the last 24 hours. Globally, there are over 119 million cases and more than 2.6 million deaths. Details in the following report.
Amid a pandemic, the governments are focusing primarily on two things: restricting the movement and increasing the administration of vaccines. The US has reported a record daily number of inoculations with more than 4.5 million vaccine doses administered. This has far surpassed the previous highest daily figure, which stood at 2.9 million doses. While Argentina is concerned by a rise in infections across the region and will increase border controls and preventative measures. In hard-hit Brazil, Sao Paulo, officials have taken increasingly dramatic steps to show they mean business. They have reinforced blitzes who broke up an illegal party with nearly 600 people in a windowless nightclub.
The police are working to close any clandestine event with an agglomeration of people. Today it was a situation that we would never have imagined. There were hundreds and hundreds of people in a place without a single window, with all the doors closed. It was Sodom and Gomorrah.
Over in Europe, Italy aims to vaccinate at least 80% of its population by the end of September. It will ramp up its program to hit a target of administering 500,000 doses each day. Norway says 3 health workers who recently received the AstraZeneca vaccine are being treated for bleeding, blood clots and a low count of platelets. Norway is among the other EU countries that halted the rollout of the Oxford vaccine earlier. But after 4 Spanish regions stopped administering AstraZeneca, the central government plans to keep using the shot. The northern Spanish region of Galicia has started a mass vaccination campaign with the jab.
As any vaccine, AstraZeneca may have a series of effects. Generally, pain in the area the vaccine was inoculated, or it can be headache or coughing, just as any other vaccine. The recommendation in case of these happen is to take 1 paracetamol and nothing else.
Hong Kong is facing its 5th wave of infection, with a growing cluster centered on a high-end gym, logging 99 cases so far. Cases in the Greater Tokyo area appears to be increasing and threaten to jeopardize the easing of restrictions scheduled for 21st of March. Australia has recorded its 2nd local case of COVID-19 in as many days. This is the first locally transmitted case in New South Wales state in 55 days.
Pakistan has registered another 32 deaths from COVID-19 and nearly 2,700 new cases. The Health Ministry says the nationwide death toll has topped 13,500. It said the tally of infections has crossed 605,000, while more than 570,000 have recovered. The ministry said the number of active cases in the country has surged to over 21,000. It said more than 1,800 patients are in critical condition. Planning Minister Asad Umar says the positivity rate of COVID-19 tests in the country has risen to 6%. Meanwhile, Pakistan's Civil Aviation Authority has extended the restrictions for inbound flights till March 18th. In India, foam floating on the Yamuna River, the main source of water in the capital, has turned the river black and reduced it to a drain. This has worried residents who demand immediate action. The Pollution Control Board says around 70% of the pollution in the river is human excrement and industrial effluents. The Yamuna fulfills 60% of New Delhi's water needs, but almost the same percentage of the city's sewage finds its way into the river. The national capital reportedly produces nearly billions of liters of sewage every day, but due to poor management, less than half of it is effectively treated. And now it's time to take a short break. Stay with us. Welcome back. 2 NASA astronauts have floated out of the International Space Station for technical and maintenance tasks. Mike Hopkins and Victor Glover Jr. conducted the walk for 6 hours and 47 minutes. Hopkins' helmet included a high-definition camera for crystal-clear views throughout the walk. The astronauts vented old ammonia jumper cables and relocated one of them, reconnecting it to the cooling system for more efficiency. It was the 5th spacewalk of 2021 and the 237th spacewalk overall in support of the space station. Expedition 64 flight engineers arrived at the space station in November as part of the NASA and SpaceX Crew 1 mission. 3 rarest, most precious and famous items in the world are set to sell for millions at an auction at Sotheby's in New York City. More about the treasures in this report.
The 1933 Double Eagle coin was originally cast as a $20 coin, but it was never issued for use. After U.S. President Franklin Roosevelt took the country off the gold standard, all of the Double Eagles were ordered to be destroyed. Only a handful survived, and except for one, all the coins were deemed stolen. Now, the only coin, along with 2 world-famous stamps, are the property of shoe designer and businessman Stuart Weitzman.
You have 3 treasures. Stuart was, I think, groundbreaking in the way that he collected, which instead of having a lot of one thing, he simply had the best in any given area, and that includes stamps and coins.
Also a part of the 3 treasures sale are the famous British Guiana 1-cent magenta stamp and a plate block of the inverted Jenny stamps. Issued in 1856, the magenta is the rarest stamp in the world and is the only stamp of its kind. As for the inverted Jenny, the 24-cent stamp issued in 1981 is the most recognized and sought-after U.S. stamp. They are now expected to sell for whopping prices.
The estimate on the British Guiana is 10 to 15 million. On the 1933 Double Eagle, it's 10 to 15. And on the inverted Jenny block, it's 5 to 7 million.
The 3 items will be on display to the public by appointment at Sotheby's in New York through March 17th. They will also be offered for auction on June 8th.
A ballerina has performed on the frozen waters of the Gulf of Finland to protest against the construction project, which threatens a unique natural habitat on BREONNA Bay Beach in Russia. More in this report.
Enduring the freezing temperature of minus 15 degrees Celsius in her point shoes and white tutu, this ballerina is not performing for a dance show, but artfully protesting against the construction of a port in BREONNA Bay, a popular beach near St. Petersburg in Russia. The Russian ballerina, Elmira Bagratinova, decided to use her talent to save the place after she read reports about plans to build a grain silo at the site.
It was my heartfelt plea to save this amazing place, which is of a special meaning for me. I like going there to get some rest. It has a unique landscape. It's shallow and has old-growth forest, and swans come there every year. It is really beautiful and has all you need for happiness.
Bagratinova filmed herself as she performed arabesques and piles on the frozen waters of BREONNA Bay. The Maritsky Theater dancer posted the video online, adding music from Tchaikovsky's Swan Lake in association to the swans that live in the area.
I had this idea, of course, because one of the unique features of this place is that swans are coming there to nest. It is a unique part of it, to come and see them swimming. And of course, a swan is the most known image in ballet.
Bagratinova called on Russians to sign an online petition addressed to President Vladimir Putin, calling for the bay to be left in its natural state. The petition has so far gained more than 7,650 signatures.
Art enthusiasts say everything one can imagine is real. A Tokyo-based group has taken this thinking to the next level, combining sauna with aspects of digital art. This report has more.
Visitors stare in awe as a wall of flowers petals burst into 1,000 fragments. Then a huge ball levitates in the air, turning from red to blue to purple. This is the latest creation of Japan's popular Team Lab collective, which has made a maze of 7 saunas lit up in the hues of red, green and yellow.
We try to make the visitor to be in a very relaxed and it's a luxury mindset. And we use of the sauna's techniques like hot, cold rest, and that cycles. And after that, if you saw that it's an artworks, or if you're one part of its artworks, maybe the experience is going to be much more richer than normal dimensions, or it's a normal mindset.
The group took over an empty lot and erected a massive tent housing the sauna rooms and 3 immersive art installations. TikTok Team Lab Reconnect opens on the 22nd of March and will run until the end of August. For $44 on weekdays, visitors can dip in and out of the hot rooms to experience the breathtaking artworks.
Nobody go to the art museums with these fashions because like art is art and the sauna is saunas. But what we wanted to try is it's combined and it's try to be very different, it's like an experience and a different experience of its art. That is a unique point.
Team Lab hopes to impact all senses of the visitors, including touch, sound and smell.
Much of the U.S. is gearing up for severe weather this weekend as late-season winter storms intensify. Forecasters have warned of whiteout conditions, power outages and avalanches for parts of the Rockies and Central High Plains. The National Weather Service has issued blizzard warnings for parts of Wyoming and western Nebraska. The agency said quickly accumulating snowfall of up to 2 feet and winds reaching 105 kilometers per hour could cause dangerous conditions to the south. In Colorado, the I-25 urban corridor is expected to get 2 feet of snow throughout the weekend. At Denver International Airport, nearly 2,000 weekend flights in and out of the nation's 5th busiest airport were canceled. Colorado Governor Jared Polis activated state's National Guard to respond to search and rescue requests. And now it's time to have a look at the weather update across the globe. For the latest updates, you can follow us on social media at Indus.News.